Let's do this. Hey, what's up? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Adam McNally on Sports Talking With, and tonight we're going to cover the Cleveland Browns. Going to go over their all-time lineup, what our guests think, what's going to happen this year for them. I imagine Deshaun Watson is going to come up in some talk. I imagine, really don't know. But anyway, we're going to bring in our guest tonight. Tonight we're going to start with Evan.
What's up, man?
What's going on, buddy?
Pretty good, man. I'm excited for today's show. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no problem, no problem. So what do you do?
Like we talked a little bit before, man, I work security for the Browns, and then I do some stuff on my own. So I'm ready to go.
Sweet. All right. Next, we're going to bring in a returning guest, Mr. Cal. How are you tonight, Cal? Oh, coughing your head off there.
Yeah, hopefully I was muted. You couldn't hear it.
No, I got the cough in. The cough made the screen. I didn't know you were
Sorry,
coughing, or
man.
else I would have waited a second.
Got a 16-month-old at home, so you know how that is. The kids are always sick. But yeah, Kyle, Rotoballer, resident Clevelander, hardcore Browns fan. So
Sweet. So how many fantasy lineups you doing?
total
Yeah. How many did you get in?
37 leagues and 140 best ball.
Holy cow. Well, hopefully you hit in a bunch. That is a lot.
As long as Jalen Hurts has a good year, I'll be good.
Hopefully you get to retire at the end of the year. All right, next guest, we're going to bring on Johnny. Johnny, I got to meet through the cottage and learned he's a huge Cleveland fan. So, John, how you doing tonight, buddy?
Pretty good. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir.
Excited to talk some Browns. Season ticket holder, so.
Yeah, John, you just got your
Love my
fantasy
Browns.
draft done. I'm glad you got it done
I'm
in
only
time.
3 leagues, not 37.
All right. And our next guest, we're bringing on Joe. How you doing tonight, Joe?
Going on, man?
Not
Thanks.
much. Known Joe pretty much my whole life, I think. I think that's safe to say, huh?
Yeah.
Go later. Sorry, my dog's being crazy.
Sure.
Sorry. So how we doing? What do we think of these Browns?
We'll see. Another year.
Yeah,
Potential, but we'll see if they can put it down.
I'm excited for the wrinkles this year. I think they're going to do some things that we, as fans, we've been asking for, as far as having Hunt and Chubb on the field at the same time. I want to see what Cooper can do, what he'll bring to this offense, even though I'm not really sure about the rest of this receiving core.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of look at it. I mean, they won 8 games last year with a quarterback who, his shoulder was basically beef brisket for 80% of the season, and still won 8 games. He couldn't even throw downfield. So I guess anything's possible.
Yeah.
Any thoughts, John?
Yeah, I'm interested to see what happens. I think it's got to tread water for a while. Even after when Watson comes back, I think he's going to need a few games to, it's been away for a while. So, but I think it's just keep him up with the pack and see what happens if they get go on a run towards the end.
Gotcha. All right. So I like to start off with the all-time lineups and see what everyone got. I'm going to start off with quarterback. I went with Otto Graham. I'm going way back. It's 46 to 55. Seemed like a pretty good quarterback for the Browns.
I went with him as well. When I looked at all the accolades for a lot of the guys who have been here, and we know how many quarterbacks we all have had, the fact that he was a Pro Bowler from 50 to 54, and that he was inducted into the Hall of Fame, as well as being a 3-time MVP. So that was the only choice I could really make there.
Cal, John, Joe.
I'm in the same boat. I mean, you guys covered it. And he's in the Hall of Fame, and last 20 some years have been kind of rough. So
Is there even any other quarterback that can be in the question?
Well, I mean, Brian Sipe was NFL MVP, but he didn't. He just didn't put it together for long enough. Bernie was such a fan favorite, obviously, but
Yeah.
not up there with the all-time greats. You know.
I mean, you can pick any 50 quarterbacks we've had.
Yeah, what's sad is that there actually was a year in between Otto Graham and Jim Brown, so they never actually got to play together at the same time.
Yeah.
But for me, I would pick Otto Graham for sure. I don't know if anybody played like Madden Ultimate Team in the last like 10 years, but they've had Otto Graham in the game a couple of times, and he actually was wearing the old like helmet and everything.
nice.
Running back. I assume everyone went with Jim Brown, correct?
Yeah,
As one
he was
as one of
my
their
picks.
one of their two picks.
Yeah.
I mean, that speed was unbelievable, right?
Power, speed, and power. Yeah.
I went with Ernest Biner as my other running back.
Did anybody else go Ernest Biner?
No,
Probably not.
No,
I went Leroy Kelly.
as did I. Molly is pretty good too.
Yeah, I kind of cheated. I went with Marion Miley, even though he's mostly known as a fullback. But again, another Hall of Famer, an all-decade guy in the 1940s. And for a guy who only ran the ball 828 times for 4,720 yards and 31 touchdowns, I just wanted to go a little bit different on that one.
Yeah.
Cal?
Oh, I said Leroy Kelly.
Joe?
For running back, I went with Brown.
Who's your other running back?
I didn't pick two, but if I had to, it would probably be Leroy Kelly.
Johnny? Who'd you go
Yeah, I
with?
went Leroy Kelly as well.
Did I must have missed him. So he was a fullback? Was that the fullback?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
He was like with Jim Brown, and then he took over for Jim Brown when he left to go make movies.
Yeah, but he was actually one of the first players to break the color barrier too, so he has a very significant role in history.
I guess I went old and new.
It's tough to do.
Right? Tight ends, who'd you guys go with?
I went with the Wizard of Oz.
Yep.
I think everybody went with Ozzy.
Hard not to. Hall of Famer. 80s all decade. All pro, 3-time Pro Bowler. Pretty good stats. Even though he did take the team to Cleveland, right? I mean, Baltimore.
Oh, you just got to bring that up, don't you?
Modell. Well, it was really Modell. It wasn't really. Can't
Was it really Newsom?
No.
I went with Kellen Winslow as my second one.
Oh,
Dude was just a beast.
Yeah, he had a couple of really bad injuries.
Yeah.
Remember, I think it was like week 1 or week 2 against the Cowboys. I think it was his rookie year. When it was, I think it was 04.
Yeah.
And Butch Davis had him out there on the freaking onside kick team. And the guy freaking goes and tears his ACL when he's not even near the ball. I was just like, dude, why do you have this guy out there?
yeah, that was one of many terrible decisions. My second guy was Milt Morin. I picked Milt for one. He was originally a linebacker and a defensive end when he played. And after drafting another gentleman, they moved him to tight end.
Yeah, I went with Winslow. Also, I didn't really know who to go with for number 2. Sadly,
Andrew went with David Njoku. He couldn't be here
thinking about
tonight.
giving Gary Barnage some
Yeah, Gary
love.
Barnage.
I do think Njoku
Or
will have a good year this year,
Hayden.
though.
I just love Winslow is just a beast.
Yeah,
I know I didn't like whenever they played the
and
Steelers.
his dad was good too.
That
Yes.
was amazing. Yes.
I went with Joe Thomas as my offensive lineman.
Did we do receivers or no?
We would do receivers
Oh,
next.
Okay.
Sorry, I had offensive lineman after tight end.
Yeah, I think I definitely went with Joe as well. It was either him or Lou Garza.
I mean, Joe Thomas was go ahead.
Yeah, I went with Joe as well. 10,363 career straight snaps, which I see every week on the Ring of Honor. But I also gave Lou Groza honorable mention. He's an all-time Browns point scorer because he also kicked.
Will Joe Thomas be a first-time ballot?
Yes.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
no question.
Just gotta make sure.
Yeah, he gave up like 2 sacks his whole career.
Yeah, wasn't that like this one of the storylines up there? Like whenever Joe retired, the guy that came in let go 12 sacks in 1 year, and that was almost triple what Joe let go his whole career.
Pretty much.
I mean, that kind of blocking is superb. Everyone go Joe Thomas as their lineman.
Play my pick,
Yeah.
and then Lou Groza was my next.
There's been a lot of good linemen, though.
We have had some linemen.
There's like 5 in the Hall of Fame.
I was gonna ask, do you guys have a good shelf up there in Canton?
Say that again.
13 guys. We'll
It's
get
good.
to linebackers in a minute. There should be another guy in the Hall of Fame.
Wide receivers, Cal. Who's you got?
Oh, I got Paul Warfield, and if you look at his career, he actually averaged over 20 yards of reception for his whole career, which is absolutely insane. And like back in those days, you could basically, mug a receiver all the way downfield. So I feel like if he's someone that played today, I mean, he would absolutely just destroy these cornerbacks today because of how good he was. Then they actually traded him. I think it was after the 69 season. The Browns traded him to Miami for the 3rd overall pick, and they took this quarterback named Mike Phipps. Then, of course, Warfield goes and wins 2 Super Bowls with, Don Shula and Larry Zonka and all those guys in Miami.
He did come back and finish his career with the Browns.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's a
Yeah.
Buckeye, too.
I didn't know that one.
Yeah. Yeah, he's kind of one of those players that was kind of in the wrong era. I think if he would have played, I mean, he was obviously great, but if he would have played 20 years later when they threw the ball more, I mean, he would have been unbelievable.
That's what you wonder, like, how would these guys fit in nowadays with all the hand checks, penalties, and everything else? Would these guys be dominant as they were then, too?
I don't think
yeah.
so.
I think especially for the smaller receivers, because I think the smaller, like if you look at Devonta Smith, he's kind of a smaller receiver. I don't know if he would have been great, 15 years ago, but now that they can't hold you all the way downfield, it's easier for a guy like that to get open. Just my opinion.
Who'd you guys go with?
I also had Warfield. After that, I put Dante Lavelli. He's in the Hall of Fame. 6,500 yards and 62 TDs. And I met him once at a game, so that was cool. And then his running mate at the time, Max Speedy,
He's also in the Hall of Fame too.
Yeah, they played.
He averaged 20.8 yards per catch.
Yeah. And then because I wanted to get someone I at least remember, I threw in Webster Slaughter.
I went with Webster Slaughter too. We have the same 4. John, did we talk about this? No, we didn't even see each other up the lake this year. So no, we did not talk
Me?
about this.
He only played 5 years, but I don't know. I like him. So
I have Webster Slaughter too. He's part of the legends at Cleveland, right?
yeah, I believe so.
So I went with Dante Lavelli, Max Speedy, Gary Collins, and Paul Warfield.
Joe?
I went with Dante Lavelli and Gary Collins. Paul Warfield's on there as well. I mean, Gary Collins has to be in the conversation. 70 receiving touchdown.
Gotcha. Cal, who else you got, bud?
I went Lavelli, Gary Collins, and then my 4th was actually Bobby Mitchell.
Well, that was something that I had on mine, but I question the fact that he spent his prime years with Washington, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking about him too. But took him out for the same reason.
All right. Andrew went Dave Logan and Brian Brennan and Webster Slaughter and Paul Warfield. I just want to read his list just because there's, some shit came up and just wanted to get it off that he's, Now, he did go Myles Garrett as his defensive lineman. I went with Bill Willis, Ring of Honor, Hall of Famer. He's part of the 40s All-Decade team. He sounded like he had a pretty solid career on the line.
I went with Miles as well. I just haven't. I just don't think there's going to be anybody better as far as Brown's history when he's done. So,
Yeah.
I went with Len Ford. He didn't really count sacks when he played, but he would have had a ton of them. But I also agree that by the time it's all said and done, I think Myles Garrett will be the best.
I agree with Mike Garrett.
Speaking of Myles Garrett, Miss Gina out there in San Francisco said Myles Garrett would be on her list. All right. We're joking. Oh, there he is.
I feel like we need to give some love to Michael Dean Perry too, just because he's awesome.
he was on my honorable mention list, but I couldn't pass up Garrett.
He should have been on. He should have been on there solely for the MDP that was on the McDonald's menu.
Exactly.
Not sure who this is, but Miss Kendra.
That's
Tennessee,
for
bro.
me.
Is that you? Is that you?
Yeah.
Ev?
Yeah.
All right. Sometimes I don't always know everyone, you know?
I appreciate you, KJ.
Thanks for stopping by. Linebackers. I went with Clay Matthews.
I think we all did.
Yeah, I was going to ask that, but I was going to leave it, you know. 8 years with 100+ tackles. That's pretty dominant.
Yep. He has 62 sacks, but I think they started counting sacks like halfway through his career.
Yeah,
Was he part of that? Was he part of that? Sacks weren't part of the equation yet, and then they came in.
It was for his first 5 seasons, actually.
Yeah. And he's still got more sacks, INTs, and tackles than Junior Seau. And he 100% belongs in the Hall of Fame.
1,430 tackles, 1,430 tackles.
Yeah.
24 forced fumbles and 14 picks as well.
Yeah.
I think the 14 picks really impressed me a lot for a linebacker.
Yeah.
Well, were the interceptions part of his whole career, or were they counted late too, like sacks?
That I didn't really find. I think that was for the majority of his career, though.
Yeah,
Oh.
I think interceptions have been counted for a while. Just sacks, and I think tackles for loss they didn't count for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Could you go back and recount them all, or no? Has anyone ever done that?
I'm sure someone has.
I was just wondering,
I'm sure someone has.
Yeah, I think you got to give it to Matthews just because of his longevity and how long he played at like such a high level. Like, you just don't see that hardly. Like, I think he played like 15 seasons.
Yeah, 78 and 93, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think they kind of hold that against them. I don't know why. It's the same thing with like Omar in baseball.
Yeah. Well, Hall of Fame in baseball, as we know, gets too political. I mean,
Yeah. Well, he's definitely done now with the most recent thing, but that's a whole nother podcast.
yeah.
Yes, that is definitely a whole. So I went with Wilton Michaels as my second linebacker.
I went with Jim Houston, 1,500 tackles, 14 interceptions.
Same. I went with Jim Houston. He was a Pro Bowler in 64, 65, 69, and 70. He also had 11 fumble recoveries as well.
Cal?
I got Jim Houston too.
Joe?
Jim Houston was on my list as well, but I also had Dick Ambrose.
The judge.
So you guys got a lot of tackles there. I don't know how many Wilton Michaels had. I didn't find that stat, unfortunately. Shit. So defensive backs, who'd you guys go with?
For my first corner, I went with Hanford Dixon,
Yep, dog pound
two-time All-Pro,
creator.
two-time Pro Bowler.
The dog pound creator, right?
Yes.
I also went with Hanford Dixon.
I also went with Hanford Dixon.
26 interceptions, 2 AFC championships, 3 Pro Bowls, All-Pro team twice. But the dog pound creator is probably the one he's more remembered as, right?
Absolutely.
I was reading like he would bark at I guess the other team, or something in that nature is what made that happen, right?
I'm not too familiar with the story, but actually meeting him, I could believe it.
I don't really. I just read bits and pieces of that. My second one, I went with Warren Lore. Did I say that last name right?
Lar?
Lore.
Yeah, I had him at the safety position because that's what he played most of. But
I had
he's
defensive
definitely on
back.
the
I
list.
guess that meant everything.
Oh,
I'm
Right.
sorry.
no, you're good. I'm just a secondary guy, so you know. But I also had Frank Minifield. Was an '80s All-Decade guy, 3-time Pro Bowler, 1-time All-Pro, and 20 career interceptions.
That was my second as well.
Mine as well.
Just the thing about Warren, he also at one point was the team's all-time leader in interceptions.
With
He was
45.
and also the all-time leader for pick sixes with 5 while he played.
He was defensive rookie of the year as well.
Speaking of Frank Minifield, that's who Hanford Dixon would bark at mostly.
All right, back to the answer.
And then my last guy was Thom Darden.
He's the one with the. I'm sorry, I thought that's who we were talking about. Oh, my bad, guys. He's the one with 45 interceptions and defensive rookie of the year.
Yes,
Yep. Yeah, I went with Tom Darn as well.
he led the league in picks as well in '78.
My last guy I threw on there was Eric Turner, just because I don't know, I love him. And then when he stopped the Cowboys the year after they won the Super Bowl and ran down the sideline, like '94 or whatever year it was.
The year after they
Good,
smacked.
good memory.
The year after they smacked their ass. So.
What about Joe Hayden?
Yeah, what about Joe Hayden?
Can't do it.
Too
I
fresh,
know,
a
but
too fresh a memory.
The Browns cut him. It wasn't the other way around. So I mean, he just went where he was wanted.
Well, now it doesn't seem like he's wanted anywhere.
I think he's retiring.
No, he's still available in free agency. He hasn't retired just yet. He's been trying to get some teams to pick him up.
Nice.
Does he still want to start, or would he be better as a safety, like a nickel back?
He said he's willing to slide inside from what I've heard, but I know at least in this division, there's not really a role for him with any of these teams.
Cal, who'd you go with?
I had Dixon, Hayden, Minifield, and Thom Darden, but personal favorite would have been Eric Turner. Man, I loved him.
So what happens when the massage therapist comes back week 11 against the Texans? Was that set up on purpose like that?
I believe so. I absolutely believe so. When he comes back, I think he'll be rusty, but I also think our defense will be hitting their stride under Joe Woods, even back in Denver. He's always had a top-ranked defense, but they always hit their stride later in the year, and I think that's what's going to end up happening. And for a lot of people who are worried that for guys who come off injury or a quarterback who's had to sit, I like to look at Jimmy Garoppolo. Even though he's had his own injury issues, when he got traded to San Francisco, he went 6-0 after sitting a week to learn the offense.
Yeah, I think it's good that he's got, halfway through the suspension, he could come back and practice with the team or whatever the rules are. So he could at least be around the team, hopefully knock some rust off. But I do think, a game or two, after not playing for almost 2 years, might be ugly for a little bit. I don't know. Hopefully Houston stinks, and it's almost like a preseason game. We'll see what happens.
Never
Just
know.
real quick. Andrew did pick Joe Hayden. I didn't see his defensive backs were on the sheet, but he did pick Joe Hayden. Just wanted to throw that out there real quick. Go ahead. Back to Deshaun Watson, Doc.
Well, I think it's just important to realize the Browns weren't making the decision with this year in mind. Like, yeah, it sucks for this year. The Browns kind of probably take it on the chin a little bit, but like they traded for Watson thinking of where they could be in the next 5 years. They're not worried about what's going to happen this year.
So you think they worked that contract out correctly then by paying him less this year, obviously?
Well, I don't know if correctly is the right word, but certainly they knew what was coming down the pipe.
I don't
Go ahead. I don't think that was actually my bad, man. I don't think that was actually intentional, because if you look at the contract extensions from other guys on the rosters, including Philly, I believe it's the Jets, but if you can definitely look at ours, you can look at Myles Garrett, Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt's extension, Denzel Ward's extension. A lot of these guys come in on a lower end of the scale when it comes to their first year. They give them a lot of guaranteed money that way. And then they go from there as far as guaranteed money coming over. I know for a couple of the other guys that are on the roster that had extensions, what they end up doing is giving them that money in bonuses or stretching it out so that they can work their cap space around.
Pretty much took the words right out of my mouth. I mean, the Browns have been doing it for a while. The Rams, that's how the Rams keep building their team. It's a common practice in the NFL. I think the media is just running with it just to kind of dog the Browns a little bit in terms of, the first year, 100, league minimum $1 million salary. How that's going to work out in the future, I'm not sure, because he's going to be a pretty big cap hit. But I also think that's where the 11-game suspension came, because I don't know if this is 100% true or not, but if he would have got 12 games, I don't know if it would have been a full season and they would have had to carry over the contract. So I think that's where they decided the 11 games and came to agreement. But, I still think it was a fairly steep punishment, in my opinion.
I agree.
I actually heard a rumor on Cleveland sports that a lot of owners actually were voting for them not to give him a full year just because they didn't want the contract to toll, so that then again next year he would be making this this low salary.
Right. This is all the owner's doing. I don't think the NFL really cares what Watson did or didn't do or accused of, whatever, however you want to phrase it. This is all the owners trying to get back at the Browns for completely increasing their future quarterback contracts going forward.
Did you guys feel they gave too much for Deshaun?
No, not at all.
I think the Browns did what they had to do to try to get him here.
Because I saw a report today that Atlanta thought Deshaun was coming there, and that's why they got rid of Matty Ice.
Well, it was well known that the owner for Atlanta actually came out and was kind of upset about the trade actually going through because he was willing to match that offer. He was never able to match the offer that the Browns gave when he decided to come here.
Well, Kendra's getting back into the conversation here. He's the only Texan worth the money.
Yeah, she's a Houston girl. She's a good friend of mine.
Don't forget about Duke Johnson.
She's a Packers fan in real life, so.
And that's another. Guess go look up how much Aaron Rodgers is making this year. He's making $1 million. No one's saying a word about that.
Right. It's actually surprising how many Cleveland guys are now in Houston.
Yeah. Is Terrence Mitchell still there?
Last time I checked, yeah, he was. I think they have maybe 4 or 5 guys. Christian Kirksey, Farrell Brown, who's an Ohio native.
Yeah. MJ Stewart.
Yeah. So that makes 6.
All right.
I think he was on the Patriots now.
Who's that?
Terrence Mitchell.
Ooh, I don't know where he is.
I know they cut. I think they cut Duke Johnson or whatever. I don't know if he's on a team or not.
He was on the Bills in summer camp, but he didn't make the team.
So what's going on with Nick Chubb? Is he staying, going? I hear things changing every day on Nick Chubb. I have no idea what
are you
to think
talking?
anymore.
Or do you mean Hunt?
He's what?
Yeah, I think you mean Kareem Hunt.
Kareem Hunt, yeah. I thought it was yeah, not Chubb. Jesus. Well, Chubb did one traded earlier.
Chubb signed a contract extension. Was it last year? So
Yeah, I think so.
he's locked up for a few years. Hunt's going to be a free agent next year. I think he might have asked for money at the wrong time, especially with everything going on. And he's unfortunately, how the league values running backs. It's just he's in a tough situation. But he's a free agent next year, so this is a time to make some money. So go tear it up.
So what do you guys feel the receiving core is going to be like this year?
It's
Are
questionable.
you asking as a whole, or are you saying with Brissett and then Watson?
With as a whole overall, what are you guys expecting?
As far as receivers, I don't expect a lot of numbers. For me, I think the numbers, big numbers wise, are going to come from David Njoku. I think he's going to be our leading receiver this year. If you look at Jacoby Brissett and his time in New England and in Indianapolis, tight ends are his best friend. He's a check down guy. And then if you look at the guys who were in rotation for Houston, which was like a rotating door for those guys, Darren Fells, Farrell Brown, you can go down the list. Those two guys came from Cleveland and ended up having career numbers when they got to Houston, especially in the red zone.
Yeah, I think with Stefanski style, I think the tight ends are going to be huge. I'm not expecting a whole ton from the receivers, at least the first half of the year.
So what's it going to be? It's going to be Cooper. Who's going to line up across from him?
It's probably going to be Cooper, Peoples, Jones, and Bell in the slot.
Yeah, that's my
I wouldn't be
guess.
surprised at the end of the year if Bell takes Peoples Jones' spot.
Cal, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, Brissett's got a big arm. I mean, he can really get the ball downfield. So just kind of depends. I think hopefully they don't get too conservative. You know, you got to put him in situations on first down where he can make completions. I feel like one of the biggest mistakes teams make when they're playing a backup quarterback is they try to be so conservative. It's like run on first down, run on second down, and then you're putting your quarterback in third down. It's not normally in that situation. So you got to approach it like you're the Eagles, and you know, with Nick Foles in the playoffs, and they would throw on first down, and they kept putting him in good spots. So we'll see. I mean, the Browns have a lot of talent. I feel like everyone's like, you know, down and out on the Browns, but we don't know. I think it's more of a problem. The AFC is just so good. But yeah, I mean, Amari Cooper, especially for fantasy, he's really been kind of a reliable wide receiver too for his whole career. And he's kind of being slept on a little bit this year. So we'll see.
Not sure who this one is either.
That's my little brother.
I love it, Evan. You brought a crowd with you.
Yeah,
I'm
I
as-
tried.
I'm as big of a David Bell believer as there is. I mean, I've got really high hopes for him. But again, he is a rookie. He did miss some of camp because he had a foot injury. So I feel like he could be a guy who's going to be really good in the second half of the year.
Joe?
I agree. I mean, we have some guys that, you know, proved themselves a little bit, but it's still a questionable receiving core. I mean, Mari Cooper's great, but you know, he's got to step into that number one option now, especially with a backup quarterback. It's going to be rough. He's going to be dealing with double teams constantly and have to expect, you know, Peoples Jones and David Bell to step up. Be a big ask, but luckily we have Njoku. I think he's going to be Mr. Reliable. But
Are
we'll
they
see.
gonna make the trade for Mason Rudolph?
I hope not.
I think that's worse than Patrick Beverly going to the Lakers with Russ. So I don't think that's going to happen.
Hey, he said he'd like to play with Russ.
I think Hunt's going to be a big part of the passing game too.
He kind of has to. You know, he's up for a contract. He's got to show out this year, especially if he wants the money he wants.
That's my buddy Steve saying that JUCO, so I guess he's a big fan of him.
I am kind of
Good.
a little sad when they brought in Hooper, but because you know, coming up at that time, and they kind of, you know, kicked him into that second role. Wasn't happy, but now we'll see what happens.
Was anybody else surprised about the price that we got him for, seeing how other receivers moved around the league this year?
Well, I was at first, but then when you realize the whole reason they got him is because they had to take on the contract. Whereas, like, you
Yeah,
look at
the Cowboys had what, like 2 days to move him or something?
Yeah, I think that was part of it, but it ended up being a good trade.
I mean, even though he's what is he supposed to make, 20 million this year?
It's 20 million this year, and then I think he has 2 more option years, each at 20 million a year. But that's not even. I don't know, what did Christian Kirk get paid?
I think it was 17, 18.
Yeah,
So, I mean,
And then you got to look at guys like who just got traded to the Eagles. Was it Brown?
AJ Brown.
Devontae Adams, he had a nice payday.
Well, that's the best receiver in the league.
Now he's back with a quarterback that totally understands him.
Yeah, they played together at Fresno State, so they already kind of got the chemistry there.
So far, has it worked so far? I mean, Murray's back with Marquise Brown now. We got Lawrence and Etney. Oh shit!
As far as Marquise
Burrow
Brown,
and
Oh, Burris and Chase, right?
well, I think it's a fad just because it worked. We see this every year where whatever rookie class, whatever group shines, you kind of see the league kind of following that and that kind of a trend. But as far as Marquise Brown, my concern is he's gonna. I think he'll have a good first 5 to 6 games, but once B Hop comes back, I don't see him being a part of that offense. I don't see him getting as many targets.
Yeah, for sure. I would agree with that. It'll be interesting though, the first 6 games to see what he does. And he was a guy that would have had like really elite fantasy production. He had like 2 or 3 really long drops last year. He had like a 70-yard touchdown that he dropped in one game.
not to mention Kyler Murray can't make it past like 8 games.
That's true.
Kyler Murray, he's been hit or miss. I don't know if it's the Cardinals or the coaching staff. This is what, his second head coach already, right?
No,
I think
they
it's
brought in Cliff the same year they drafted him. I
Oh,
think.
that's right. Who I don't know. I thought
They had Steve Wilkes for a year who had Josh Rosen, and then he got fired.
Josh Rosen.
But not sure what anybody would have done with that.
my dog's going crazy.
Put him on the practice squad.
What's that?
Yeah. Yeah. Rosen. Yeah.
We got questions coming in from your gallery, John.
I have a question.
No, it was
Oh, he asked me if Rosen's on the practice squad.
He is.
Yep.
so are you guys gonna running 2 quarterbacks, 3 quarterbacks, or
I think there will be a package for Josh Dobbs. I think that, especially with the offense and the changes we're going to see with Watson, I think there are certain things that they feel like Josh Dobbs may be able to do that Brissett can't. I think that's the other reason why they brought in Kellen Mond. He's another athletic quarterback. He does need a lot of work, but I think there will be a package for Josh Dobbs, especially in the red zone.
He's got some legs on him. He can move.
Josh Dobbs?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's fast. Yeah,
Based on what I saw in preseason.
I got to see him in preseason, usually pretty much too down here. He didn't see too much game time. That's not a good thing. So is your defense looking good? Looking like it's going to be stellar, or
I think so. I think, barring injury, I think our defense is going to be legit.
Yeah, I mean they got 2 strong corners. John Johnson was a big safety free agent pickup last year. It's got another year under his belt in the system, so maybe we'll have a little bit better year. And then you got the Myles Garrett and Clowney up front. So see what happens. I mean, the D tackles are a little weak according to projections, but maybe they could stuff up the hole, stop the run, and see what happens.
Cal, real quick, I just saw your message. What is your prediction for the season? What are your quick thoughts? And then tell people how they can get a hold of you. You said you had to go around 10:30, right?
Yeah. Got a few things to do here to get ready for the season still. Yeah, I mean, the schedule's very favorable the first 4 weeks. So, I mean, I think if the Browns can go 3-1, kind of ride some momentum, then the schedule kind of gets a little tough. So I think they need to get off to a good start. But, I mean, it's the NFL. Anything can happen, I mean, it's always, the sport where, one couple teams always come out of nowhere and make the playoffs. So, yeah, I mean, it's we'll see. I mean, they need certain things to go their way, but you never know. I try not to play the schedule game. Be like, oh, we're going to win this game, lose this game, win this game. Just take it a week at a time.
So of your a million lineups, how many Browns do you have on them real quick?
Probably mostly Kareem Hunt, just because I think he's got great value for where he goes so late, and he's got great running back 2 value. I do have Bell, but more in like dynasty leagues that are, more of your roster carries over, and best ball I do like Njoku. Best ball you don't set a lineup. You kind of pick like 18 guys, and then it'll start like who does the best at every position for you for that week, and you kind of build your roster kind of around that. So if I kind of went with a later tight end approach, I did love taking Njoku for sure, but I'd say Hunt's probably my most rostered Brown just because he's got so much upside. And if the Browns are not going to be good this year, then it's better for Hunt than it's better for Chubb, because Chubb really doesn't catch passes. If the Browns are trailing in the second half, he's really going to be game scripted out of a lot of games. They'll have Hunt out there because they're going to want the extra receiver. So I would say for fantasy, it's more in Hunt's favor, but I do love Chubb as a runner. He's probably the most exciting pure runner in the NFL.
All right. And how do people get a hold of you real quick?
Again, Twitter, Luck is Made FF. So, yeah. And you have any trade questions, lineup advice, draft advice? I know we still got some drafts coming down to the weekend here. So, yeah, always down to help and do what I can.
Well, Cal, you helped us out a little bit on our draft. I know I had you on right before our draft. What was that, Friday night a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah.
So I thank you for coming on. You're always welcome back. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Hopefully you hit some best balls. I know
appreciate
they ain't cheap. Hopefully you're in Vegas.
No, they're only like $3 to $5 an entry.
Oh, you didn't jump in like the 20, the Mega Mill or whatever they call it?
I did like 2 of them. It's like $25 an entry. It's very expensive. So
Is that the DraftKings one?
the Underdog, they have the Best Ball Mania where the winner gets $2 million, but it's $25 an entry. I mean, that's a lot. And I mean, some of these best ball drafts, I look at it like entertainment. Like I got an hour's worth of entertainment for $3. I mean, you know what I mean? You're spending $25 a draft, that adds up quick. So that's not really my MO, but I mean, yeah, if someone's going to win it.
That's how I look at blackjack.
Absolutely.
Just buying entertainment.
Yep.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks, Cal.
Take it easy.
Catch you later. Go Browns.
Joe, I know you got to get up early for work. What are your closing thoughts? I just read your message too.
I think it's going to be kind of up in the air season. It can go either way. The AFC is stacked right now. It's a bad year to be without a starting quarterback. But I think we'll do what we can. If our defense can stay healthy, I think we have a shot of at least being mediocre at worst.
You saying like 9-8, 8-9?
I'd say, yeah, 500 is probably a good prediction.
Well, I thank you for coming on, Joe. I know you didn't know. I guess you weren't on call tonight, huh?
No, not tonight. Thank God.
Well, I kept you up, but I thank you for coming on. You even got to say hi to your brother-in-law for a minute.
I appreciate it. Y'all have a good.
You too, man.
All right, we'll see you later.
All right, Joe. All right, Evan and John. Do you guys want to close it out, or want to keep going? It doesn't matter to me.
I could talk football all night, man, so it doesn't matter.
I know John could talk sports all night too, but
Yeah, I mean, as far as the season goes, I agree. You know, I kind of said it earlier. I mean, thinking middle of the road, but I'm hoping they could tread some water and, you know, get hot and just sneak in the playoffs after that. Anything could happen. But I don't know. We'll see.
is Watson gonna carry him, or is he gonna be rusty 2-3 games? Or
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming he'll be a little rusty, but like I said, tread some water till he gets back and see what happens.
now I don't know all the deep details about it. Is he a lot of practice with the team, or
Yeah, after week 8.
after week 8? Okay.
So I think that's what mid to late November. Your quarterback's taking perks and playing games. I'm all right. We'll be fine.
Well, the Indians.
I think Watson's allowed back with the team after week 6, but can't practice till week 8 or whatever it is. If I heard correctly, I could be 100% wrong on that though.
No, he does. You're right. He does return around that time. I'm not entirely sure when when he's allowed to start practicing, but I know in November he's allowed back around the team.
I heard this on the radio that's completely crazy. By the time Watson starts his first game, the whole Big Ten season will be over, including the Big Ten championship.
Wow, that is actually that actually is insane when you think about it.
His first game is December 4th, and the Big Ten championship is December 3rd.
How do you think they're going to do this year?
Ohio State.
Yeah,
I think they'll. I mean, they gotta. I don't know. I think they'll do all right. Is the receiver hurt or what's his deal? I didn't hear anything back. I know, but
I know Stroud can't play like that all season. He's not going to win a Heisman.
that's been my biggest concern with him. It seems like he's waiting for the guy to be wide open instead of just letting it fly.
yeah, I think they need a couple weeks to get their stride, though. I mean, remember last year against Minnesota? That was the same deal. It was kind of like a sketchy game or whatever, and then as time went on, they kind of hit their stride until Michigan, of course.
Don't get me started on Michigan.
Yeah.
Decades.
Well, the Pitt West Virginia game was pretty wild on Thursday night as well.
I actually missed that one. I was at my brother's reception.
Yeah, I didn't see much. I heard about it.
I didn't think you would watch anything Pittsburgh, John.
That's always a good game every year. Well, when they did it, it was always a fun game to watch. I just by the time I figured out it was on, I didn't know they were playing Thursday. I guess I wasn't ready for football just yet.
I was not. I didn't even realize it was in Pittsburgh. I asked someone at like 5 o'clock. I'm like, I knew the brawl was coming up, but I didn't know it was last Thursday, obviously. And they're like, yeah, it's in Pittsburgh. And I'm like, I didn't know that. So, yeah, I sound like a horrible talking sports person at that moment.
No, not at all. We can't cover everything. Did you guys see the score of the Appalachian State North Carolina game?
Was
That
that the
game
one that
was
was like 70-3 or whatever?
It was 60. I think it was 61-60. Appalachian
No,
State
no, I
scored
didn't.
40 points in the fourth quarter.
Oh, I did hear about that. No, I watched the end of that. What was it, Florida State LSU?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Watched the end of that game. What was that, Sunday night?
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't watch much last night. Clemson and who they played? Georgia Tech.
they blew out Georgia Tech 41-10,
Penn State game was wild too.
Yeah, and shit.
and that was at Georgia Tech. So what's your predictions in the NCAA world going to what do you guys think of the expansion to 2026?
Money grab.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Is that going to kill a lot of these
We gotta
little bowl
do-
games?
We got to do whatever it takes to get Notre Dame to feel like they're part of something.
I
Is that gonna-
think it would have been better at 8 games instead of 12. Because with 12, is it 12 games or 12 teams?
12 teams.
That
So seed 1, 2, 3, and 4 have a bye, and then it's 5 versus 12 and 6 versus 11 or whatever it is. So I mean, yeah,
the reason I'm worried about that is because we're starting to see the Kent State. What was that? 4 years ago, they went undefeated until their conference championship game. You had Cincinnati last year. It seems like we have one of those teams every year that's playing D1 ball, but it doesn't really have a lot of Power 5 D1 talent that's going to be playing in these games. And I just worry about player safety. I also wonder about who are we really going to see? How is this really going to affect all the conferences? Because we have the Big Ten getting, what is it, USC, Oregon's been talking to us. We got UCLA. There's been rumors about Notre Dame trying to decide between us and the ACC. How many SEC teams are going to be valuable? How does this change your win-loss record? Is having 2-3 losses but still winning your conference championship going to make it possible for you to, play for a national championship?
yeah. I mean, I read a stat that if they had this all along since the playoff, OSU would have never missed a year.
That's
And
true.
I think going forward, eventually, like those teams you're talking about, like Kent and like Cincy and those guys. I mean, maybe Cincy could grow into a bigger program, but I feel like they're eventually going to get left off, and it's just going to be 2 main conferences of 50 teams or whatever, and 16 or 12 of them are going to go to the playoff. That's how it's going to end up being, and then they're going to make another Division 1A or whatever you want to call it. And that's going to kill all those guys' programs because, for example, Toledo is playing OSU in 2 weeks. That's huge for them.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, are they doing the AP top 12 or are they going to do kind of like a
I think
bracketology?
no, I think they're still doing the 12 people in a room or whatever. The college
Politics is
playoff.
what he's saying.
Yeah.
No, I meant like whenever the AP comes out on Monday, are they doing that top 10, that top 12, or are they doing conference championships and putting them into the mix if they're not in the top 12 already?
How it is now is there's a committee that picks the top 4 teams. And I think they're going to keep the committee. It's just going to be the top 12. I don't know. I don't know the details, but they're even talking. That's in 2026. They're talking about trying to start that in 2024. Find a way. The problem is they have TV contracts with the ESPN for all these games. And they don't want to break the contracts.
Because I mean, we see kids sitting out of bowl games now because they're going to go pro.
Yep. Well,
So-
this would make them not sit out as much.
I think it will, honestly.
Because it's going to be an extra possible 2 to 4 games of extra play.
Yeah, and that's where the question comes in as far as games played. Do they shorten the season? I mean, some teams are already playing only 12 games. Some guys are playing 10. I think where it does make it interesting to have 12 teams is the guys that are going to Alabama, are they going to sit out? Or the Ohio State guys going to sit out? But then we get let's, for whatever reason, let's say Maryland makes it, and Indiana makes it. Those guys aren't there every year. And let's say they just have a hot year and they happen to make it, or Wisconsin makes it. I feel like those guys are going to want to play. So that makes some interesting matchups.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I feel like most of the guys that sit out they aren't in the playoff. So I don't know if putting 12 teams means those guys are going to play now or not. I mean, or they might say, hey, I'm not playing 3 more games.
Yeah.
I got my money. It's coming in a few months. I got to do what's best for me.
That's very true.
That's what I was wondering. I mean, is it going to be worth it? I mean, of course, it's going to be worth it. It's going to be a big time money grab for sure.
No matter what it is, we're all going to watch.
That's true.
And that is very true, John.
I'm watching
Very
preseason
true.
games.
I feel.
I think it will help the guys like Jackson Smith and Jigba, just like playing against Utah did in the Rose Bowl. But that is another question, though. What happens to all the prestigious bowl games? Do we just count those as a round in the 12-game playoff now, or do we see more endorsements for other games?
Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do with that. Because, like the Rose Bowl, is the biggest one. And that's been ruined for however many years now. It's probably like almost 20 years, Like the national championship that one year was Texas versus USC in the Rose Bowl with Vince Young.
One of my greatest games I got to watch of all time.
The ending was worth $1 million. Well, the ending was worth the whole thing.
Yeah.
So, but it's still not Pac-12 versus Big Ten,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm assuming they'll keep doing the rotation where, Rose Bowl will get it one year and then, well, the final game will always be the national championship, but, the semifinals, I think they'll keep it how it is now. It's Orange Bowl and Sugar Bowl and Rose Bowl and just rotate them.
And then that makes you question, like, how much are these stadiums now going to pay up to try and get one of these playoff games? Like the Pinstripe Bowl in New York. Or
yeah, I don't know if they're doing – I didn't hear – there was – when they were originally talking about it, they were talking about, like, the higher seed got a home game. I don't know if they're doing that or not, like in the first round.
That could be very interesting, having a team that's never played in the cold going to the Big House, going to the Horseshoe, or
Right.
Let's say Ohio State has 2 losses and there's some magical school that doesn't have a real big stadium. How does that play into effect? So I think that could be pretty interesting.
like, say, like a Marshall snuck in or,
Yeah, absolutely. All they got to do is call back Chad Pennington and Randy Moss, and maybe they'll have a chance.
I was just going after a small stadium. I wasn't like really, like you said, because even I think West Virginia didn't even want to go to Marshall to play, and that was the big reason why Randy Moss had to go play in Morgantown. I think that's what I remember watching on the 30-30.
I'll talk to you.
That's pretty cool. I like that.
Yeah.
So if the Browns are above 500 going into Watson coming back, you think they can make that run?
As far as the Super Bowl?
No, just playoffs. Let's go for one step at a time here.
I think they'll make the playoffs. I don't think they'll do well in the playoffs. I think that the offense has too many questions right now. Unless somebody comes out and does something that we're just not thinking about, I don't really see it. The atmosphere changes. Guys step up, and I think that would be a problem, especially if we're going up against a team that can score. Like when we faced Kansas City, The run game wasn't great, but it wasn't bad either. The problem became once they took the lead over late. Can we throw the ball down the field? And yeah, Watson's a better quarterback. He can make some things happen even with his feet. But then you got to, is he going to stay healthy? He hasn't been hit in a long time.
Do they look at OBJ Everett again?
Say that again?
Do they try and sign OBJ Everett again?
I don't think so.
I do.
Oh boy.
The reason I think they do is only because there was a report coming out of Atlanta that OBJ, Jarvis Landry, and Jadeveon Clowney were all ready to sign with Atlanta if Watson went to Atlanta. I know a lot of guys on the team still talk to him, are still really good friends. I know David Njoku recently posted some text while they were playing iPhone games about him coming back if Njoku won. So you never know.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel, yeah. I mean, it's a possibility, I guess.
Well, I mean, I think that's going to be the free agent grab of week 8, right? Week 9 week 8, week 9. He's scheduled to be back to full time.
I think there's only really 3 teams, not including the Browns, that are really in a place where they could really use them. And then to me, that's Buffalo, Denver, and him going back to LA.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, Buffalo would be pretty ugly.
Yeah. Diggs and Singletary in the backfield. Even though Cook's brother might be, I'd say he takes over by week 4, but that's just me.
I actually agree with that. Singletary lost a lot of snaps later in the year. I don't think he really fits what they're trying to do in that offense, and I think Cook is a pretty good fit.
So why did Moss get cut? Is he that bad, or
Why did who get cut?
didn't Moss get cut from you guys?
Thaddeus Moss?
Yeah.
Oh no, that was from the Bengals, I think.
Was that the Bengals? I thought I read Browns. I could be wrong. Obviously I'm wrong. I mean, you guys.
I think that was with the Bengals. Me personally, I never thought he was a good tight end.
Is that Randy Moss's son? Is that
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Was he
never
a
thought he
Bengal?
was a good tight end. He did play defensive end and D tackle in high school. He has more of the body size for it, especially with the guys that you see coming out now. But as far as just being a tight end, I just don't see it.
Okay. I'm sorry. I don't know why. Bengals, Browns, same state, I guess.
Same creator. There's a lot of similarities there. It's all right.
So I saw that Cleveland.com is now covering Bengals news. Do you know why that is?
I have no idea.
I got serious problems with that.
I have no idea. I don't see anything interesting down there. I don't really take them serious just because their practice field, where they hold their practices, is next door to the stadium and an eye shot from the freeway.
Right. Yeah, that Hard Knock. I don't remember what year they were on Hard Knocks, but when I saw that stadium or that practice field, I'm like, you gotta be kidding me with this. I mean, the Browns one's not, the indoor facility is only 70 yards, but they're gonna redo that soon.
It's still the fact that it's under the freeway. I mean, you're an NFL franchise.
I know.
There has to be something that you guys can do to, change that.
Like, I think the Bengals will be all right. Last year was like just a perfect storm of everything.
Do you think they make the playoffs this year?
I don't know. I can see them being 8-9 too.
The Bengals?
Yeah.
The team with the most cap room to spend on free agency. They upgraded their line by 2 guys. Joe Mixon was still blowing through holes, and now they have blockers that
We'll
are
see.
going to be able to open up more holes for him.
Yeah, but they
I-
also went from like the easiest schedule in the NFL to one of the toughest ones.
That's true.
I mean, I'm hoping the Bengals are not good. Believe me, I'm with you guys on this one.
I mean, Super Bowl hangover. Everybody's on the Bengal hype train. I mean, we've seen this a million times. I don't know. And we haven't seen this line
Oh,
play yet. And they're already saying one of the guards they got is not doing that great, who might get beat out by a fourth round dude. So,
Yeah, I heard the same thing.
so we'll
mean-
see what happens. But I mean, a lot of things went right. Even that playoff run. I mean, they shouldn't even beat Oakland or Vegas, or whatever their name is.
I mean, they got their first playoff win in the text messaging era. I mean, that's not good.
It's
Yeah.
not at all. But I, as a Browns fan, I don't think we can really talk because
No,
we
I
got
know.
1 year before.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, you guys beat us, so it's all good, I guess. That had to be like your mini Super Bowl beating the Steelers, right? Especially after all the BS that happened.
Yeah, it felt great, but then again, seeing TJ Watt not even rush the rookie right tackle and just jumping every time Baker tried to throw the ball, it kind of soured that moment for me. I really wanted us to kick Ben's butt whenever his last game was.
Yeah.
I get like that's a horrible other stat too that Ben owned the home record, and then Baker beat out that finally.
Oh man, that's going to be some big controversy with that one.
That week one.
Yeah, especially after that whole debacle with that sports reporter, and then that's not what I said, or that's not how the conversation went, and then you release T-shirts that you're going to sell on your Instagram that
Right.
say I'm finally off the leash.
That's exactly how the conversation went.
Oh, I thought we were talking about the massage me, bitch.
No, but
Did you buy one? Oh, I thought you were grabbing one.
no, I just the only thing that I'm worried about as far as the Panthers game is Baker gets the ball first and he goes down and scores. Because
Yeah.
once he has the confidence, I think that's where the issue is. If he comes out, he gets sacked, he throws a pick, doesn't move the ball, I think we run away with it.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm really interested in Sunday. I want to say I don't know what's going to happen. I don't think the Browns. I don't think he's as bad as everyone thinks he is. I mean, he had a nice little run in Indy before he got hurt. That year, Luck just said, "Hey, I'm done. I'm quitting." So we'll see what happens. I don't know, but I am nervous about Sunday. I don't want to be embarrassed more than I already am. But
I'm
we know
not
how
worried
that
about
goes.
I'm not really worried about being embarrassed just because it's week one. And as far as it is for the Browns, we know how week one is and home openers are for us. But I think as far as the season goes, as far as we have with Brissett, I think a lot of Browns fans are panicking. I think they're worried about I think they're just worried with the idea of not having Baker or Deshaun not starting week one, because when Belichick did what he did with Kosar, everybody was up in arms. Everybody was not. They cried about it a lot. I think it's because we haven't had a successful quarterback in such a long time, or a stable quarterback in such a long time, that a lot of Baker bros, as we call them, are in a panic.
Yeah, I think having so many back quarterbacks has led us as fans to settle on, average, I guess you could call it. And we don't see it how the rest of the NFL sees it, where you have, like Pittsburgh, for example, has got great quarterbacks, and or a great quarterback. Something keeps popping up on my screen. Sorry, a great quarterback, and it's two different fan bases, mentality. So I was definitely cool with like upgrading from Baker, and I just kind of knew that it was going to be between Watson. This is going to sound crazy, but after the playoff win, and then we lost to Kansas City, I was, and Watson wanted out, and there was no allegations yet. I was 100% saying do anything it takes to get Watson. And then shortly after that, boom, all this stuff came out, and then kind of sat out a year or whatever. But sure enough, a year later, they did exactly that. So I don't know. See what happens. But
You're not too crazy because when they were, excuse me, when they were trying to trade him to Miami, I was like, why are we not calling? I mean,
right,
yeah, Baker, he was having one of his consistent years, but I believe what you get from your quarterback in your first 3 years is what you're going to get for the rest of your career with that quarterback. I definitely would have tried to trade for him at that point too, because at least at that point, Baker's trade value was real high at that point.
right. I just think with Baker, at the end of the day, and you said it earlier, we were never able to do a 2-minute drive. We were never able to come back. We always had to have the lead, run it down their throats, and keep the lead. And like that year that we went to the playoffs, and Pittsburgh knows too. Like we had the easiest schedule. We played the NFC East. Those guys,
Mhm.
the winner of that division won 6 games or whatever. And the Browns, I think, had a 4-play schedule. Pittsburgh was like, what were they, 11-0 or 12-0?
Yeah, 11-0.
They played nobody, and then they started playing some good teams. And then they lost out to the rest of the season. Oh no, they won the 1 game against Indy.
Yeah.
I just think
Yeah,
that
I
was
think we
like a
finished.
perfect.
I think we finished 12-5
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was like a
or
perfect.
12-4 because I think it was 16 games then still.
Yeah, it was.
That was a perfect storm for us, and I think it's very similar to what Cincy did last year. But obviously, Burrow was way better than Baker, so maybe Burrow
Yeah.
keep it going. I just didn't think Baker could, and then just the 2-minute drives and the lack of fourth quarter comebacks is what always killed me with them. Like, I don't know. That was my opinion.
No, I agree. For a long time, I really thought it was the play calling of Stefanski, and that was more so because of what we got out of Odell. That's what we got out of saw the change of what we got out of Jarvis after getting Odell. It felt like we didn't get the same Jarvis anymore, and we didn't even see the same Rashard Higgins when he was when Baker first came into the league after Tyrod went out.
Yep.
Those were two guys who here were. At one point, even with Baker, you thought those guys were going to be Browns for the rest of their career, and then they're all gone. So,
right. Yeah, I don't know. If you make Baker one-dimensional, it's just not going to end well.
and that's what I think is going to happen this weekend.
Yeah, I hope so.
I think a lot of it has to do with McCaffrey, how he stays down in Carolina.
Yeah,
Can he stay healthy?
that's
Right.
What,
I mean, can he? I mean, obviously.
that's what kind of stinks about playing them week 1 is that they're all going to be fresh. And, we play in week 5. You don't even know if McCaffrey's going to be there or not.
That's
But
true.
It is what it is. I mean,
It's a shame. Like, he's so good and then he's so injured.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I do believe that Christian McCaffrey is he's very versatile, but I think the problem is they have to be in the lead with having a quarterback like Baker because he's not going to bring you back, especially 14, 15 points, 17 points. He's not going to bring you back from that. And I think that kind of takes a lot of what that offense flourishes on away because I don't know why, but a lot of people forget that before Sam Darnold got hurt last year, they were 5-0, 6-0 before he got hurt. and then they
Yeah.
turned into a complete dumpster fire. And in all
They
those
were-
games, they never had to come back. So again, with a defense that like we have, who's projected to be a top 5 defense, top 10 defense, if we do well early, I think we'll be all right.
Yeah, I mean Carolina's got a pretty good team. It's just they got to stay healthy and the quarterback, like you said, when he got hurt, it was just it's tough. I mean, I don't think that division they play in is that that great minus Tampa Bay, but I think Tampa Bay's probably got their problems this year too.
I think the Saints win that division this year.
The Honey Badger.
Do you
They
think
run a lot
Michael?
of-
What do you think Michael Thomas is going to do?
Nothing. I think he's traded by week 8.
So he's got a hamstring again, right?
Who's that?
The Saints.
Michael
receiver?
Thomas.
He says he's going to be. They said today he was going to be playing in week 1.
If he does, who knows? I root for him because he's a Buckeye.
He hasn't played since what, December 19th, 2020?
I think it might be even longer than that.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't play last year. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know when's the last time he played.
Or December 13th or something like that. We got a Pack fan in the house.
I know who that is too.
You're bringing everyone.
I tried, man. I sent out a group.
Oh, that's
text.
fine. Just to hopefully they like what they see and they sub.
That's
And if they got something, I'll sub back too.
That's my cousin Matthew. You guys got like 1 year or 2 years with Rodgers, and then hopefully Jordan Love falls on his face and you guys suck for the next decade. I'm so sick of the Packers.
Thanks, Matt.
Packers have been good for so long; it's insane.
Yeah, and aren't they the only franchise that like doesn't have an owner?
Yeah,
Yeah, because
Probably
so many
good.
people buy shares with them. It's kind of like a minority.
the crazy thing is, and I think I saw this somewhere, but the Packers went from Favre to Rodgers, so they had 20 whatever years of like premier quarterback play, and the Colts went with Manning to Luck, and out of all those years, they have 2 Super Bowls combined. No, 3.
Yeah, that's true when you think about it. Man. That always brings up the age-old question that I have. Is it better to build a team or to have a star quarterback?
I don't know. If I knew, I would be making
An owner.
calls.
But then, I mean, you look at Brady.
Yeah.
I guess you could look at Rodgers too. He does have one, but that's it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
How
Terry
many
Bradshaw,
does Russ have? 1?
yeah.
Bradshaw has 4.
Should have 2. But
Um,
I mean, well, Roethlisberger also should have more than 2.
definitely should have more than 2.
Oh yeah,
You can blame
But-
Le'Veon Bell for that and Antonio Brown.
but we've had 3 playoff wins in the last decade.
I have a thing about with Brady and stuff. I'm not trying to like go down that road. He's the GOAT or whatever, but I think the Patriots have benefited from being in like the worst division ever all those years. I mean, the Bills always stunk. The Jets, they had like what two good years, but they always stink. And Miami was always pretty bad. So they automatically every year have 10 wins and a bye. I mean,
Yeah.
it's got to help out come playoff time.
And then
So-
you'd have to go in the Foxborough in the middle of winter.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can say the same thing for when the Colts had Peyton. You can say the same thing for when the Packers had Favre and Rodgers. I mean, yeah, there were some times where the 49ers popped up, but what was that, 3 years?
Yeah.
There's, the Seahawks. Honestly, everybody wants to jump on that bandwagon, but for me, that was a 2-year window. I think you can say that for a lot of guys, though.
Yeah,
I
but more back to John's point where he said that the AFC East was absolutely disastrous, and Brady
Yeah.
had a walk in the park all the way almost to.
I mean, I don't know how much Brady created that, and maybe the other teams were like, hey, it's not even worth it. But I mean, at least with the Packers, I felt, the Bears went to the Super Bowl that one year and they were decent couple years. They had some good defenses for a while, and
Man,
Devin
Rex
Hester.
Grossman and the
the NFC West is always fairly competitive, and like Pittsburgh and Baltimore are always like two good teams. They're competitive. I just felt like, but yeah, I mean, the Colts are, yeah, I agree with the Colts. Like, they never really had much competition either.
Maybe
just think-
Texas.
I just think that helped Brady out big time.
It was almost
Definitely.
guaranteed 5 wins right off the bat.
Pretty much.
So then it was like, where else we going? But
Who do you think wins the AFC West?
I think this is going to be the best division in football.
I don't know. I've been thinking about this for a while. I can't figure it out. I think it's
three.
either. I personally think it's either Chiefs or Broncos.
I think it's the Chargers or the Raiders.
Oh boy,
I think it's going to be fun.
I can't.
I mean, 3 teams could be coming out of the AFC West this year.
Yeah.
I'm not on board with the Chargers. I don't know why. I just
You're not a Herbert fan, though, are you?
maybe I'm jealous. I don't know. I think Herbert's pretty good. Obviously, I mean, their coach is a defensive guy who's from here, and he went to Carroll, but they had the worst ranked defense last year. I know they got Max, so
They also
Yeah.
picked up Jackson, too.
Mhm.
might change things, but I don't know. We'll see. I do like the Raiders, though.
I think the Chargers will be all right. I wouldn't say that Herbert has a Josh Allen like trajectory, but as far as from year 1, year 2, year 3, I definitely think that I think he can be in the MVP talk this year. With Keenan Allen and Mike Williams coming in healthy this year, you still have Austin Eckler, and then you add I
Joshua
wouldn't say a
Palmer.
dominant corner, but a top end of the league corner. You add another top 10 pass rusher. It doesn't matter what side you put them on. You can put them next to each other if you want to. I think that I think they'll be pretty good. And then as far as the Raiders, we're really hoping for Devontae Adams to have a big year. But even if he's just a decoy for, let's say, half of the season, till
They
they
still
really
have
figure out how
Waller
to get him
and
open.
Rethro.
Right. And they got a 2-head. I wouldn't call them a 2-headed monster, but they got a committee style running game, and I think they'll be all right.
Yeah,
think their
I was
offensive
just
line
going to
is
say,
good.
running backs might be their only question, really, with Jacobs. But they're saying Jacobs is going to be the number 1 now. I don't know why or how, but I'll take it. I do have him on my fantasy team, so I hope he is.
I don't think he'll be top 5 fantasy. Maybe not even top 10, but as far as the NFL goes, I think he'll be pretty good this year.
It's like Miles Sanders. Is he going to score a touchdown?
Maybe.
That's insane.
Oh, real quick, what are you guys' thoughts on Jalen Hurts? Is he MVP talk or no?
No. I got to see him at their joint practices. I think he takes a step, but I don't think it's MVP like. I think he might be a year away from that.
I don't think he's MVP either. I think he would be. I think he can be a great fantasy type quarterback though. Put up those stats, another person in a weaker division, but they got some good defenses over there. But yeah, I just think No, I don't think he's MVP.
Is Chase Young going to be ready soon?
Actually, when we started the show, I got an alert that he further injured himself at a Von Miller camp over the weekend.
How's that possible?
Well, he had a pulled groin, so he had to be doing something, or it was a hamstring, one of the two. So he had to be doing something, showing something off, and further aggravated or worsened the injury.
Jeez.
Why wouldn't Washington keep him away from the shit?
What was that? Kids camp or something?
If I look it up right now, let's see. That's Otani. It says right here, Commanders star worsened injury at Von Miller's camp, and the team is not happy. This is coming from NFL Network. It doesn't give much detail. I think the team is going to keep that away, especially with all the other news that they have going on around that franchise. But
I feel bad. Like, I'm glad Washington's okay.
yeah, I'm definitely glad that Robinson.
And I saw he returned to
that's a
practice
horrible
this morning,
story.
I guess, or yesterday.
Say that again.
I saw he returned to practice.
Yes, he did. But I don't think they're playing him at least for another 2 weeks.
I think I what happened? I think I missed
Their rookie
Washington
running back.
got carjacked and shot.
Yeah, it was a
Oh,
carjacking
yeah.
and he got shot
Yeah, I heard
multiple
about that.
times.
Yep. I did hear about that. I didn't know what team he was on though.
I don't think a lot of people knew who he was or anything like that.
I my biggest fear for them isn't Chase Young, it's Carson Wentz.
Yeah. He seems to, lose locker rooms everywhere he goes.
Yeah.
And to bring it back to Baker, I think pretty much he lost the locker room with those guys last year.
Absolutely. So did JC Treader. That's why he's retiring.
Yeah.
Would have you
What
guys
happened with
loved if they
Shredder?
would have finished the commercial and had him going, moving everything out in the the Mayfield moving company out of First Energy and then moving down to, I think, what is that, Allstate?
I
M&T?
think Bank of America or something, yeah.
I thought Allstate was one of their sponsors. That was one of the
sponsor wise,
big,
yeah, that would make sense. Going from Progressive to Allstate, he's in good hands now.
yeah. I thought that would have been a great way to end things. The whole. I mean, everyone was involved in those commercials.
Yeah.
Whether you liked them or not, you still saw them.
What happened with JC Treader? Just because he was president or whatever?
It has a lot to do with he's a president. There were a lot of things that were voted upon and changed. A lot of that had to do with the COVID restraints and things like that, but it
Yeah.
also had to do with a lot of the changes that happened after a lot of those restraints were lifted. There were some rumblings of him supporting Baker and being anti with some other guys.
Mhm.
Nobody's really going to come out and say that, but at this point, when Mary Kay says something, whether we like it or not, she doesn't miss.
Yeah. Well, maybe she could unblock me on Twitter.
Good luck with that one, buddy. When I first met Mary Kay, I told her I liked her work, and she was like genuinely surprised. She was like, "What, you do?" Like, she was totally shocked that somebody else was not, coming to attack her.
Well, she one time wrote an article after Jason Campbell won a game that he's like a franchise quarterback, and I was just like, I can't do this, and I don't know. I said
I
something.
forgot he played for us.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's like the guy was in the league for 10 years, obviously, 8 years, whatever he was doing. Yeah, he had a couple good runs with Washington or whoever. But, I mean, he beat a 4-win Bears team, and she's like, next day on Monday, she's like, I think Jason Campbell could be a franchise quarterback. And I'm like, what is going on here? So, needless to say, I got myself blocked on Twitter after that.
Are you blocked by Tony Grossi too?
Of course, I was blocked by him first.
I'm gonna keep my mouth shut on Tony Grossi just because
he's probably watching this. He probably heard his name. He's watching this, and he's gonna take your tag and go block you.
Probably.
I don't know. I'm not sure who that guy is, but all right.
He's
I
one of our
should.
beat reporters, and he's just let's leave it at that. But I do have a question for you since you are a Steelers fan. Do you trust Kenny Pickett?
I wish he was starting day one.
Why?
He was our first round draft pick. Why not get the kid out there? Trubisky's been around the block, and I just feel it'd be so much more energy.
I agree, but your offensive line is shaky. He has small
It is
hands.
shaky, and Pickett still is quick and can move around.
Yeah, but take
you-
it from a bunch of guys that have watched a bunch of quarterbacks get ruined by not having good offensive lines or starting them too quick. It's probably smart to let him figure out what's going on before he gets completely shell shocked. And
he has small hands. He's playing in a bad weather city.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so did Baker Mayfield too. Remember?
Yeah, and you see where he is now, right?
Yeah, Carolina.
So
I don't know what the fuck. What are small? Like really? What are like?
have you ever held a NFL football in the rain or in the snow?
No.
It's
Maybe.
not easy. There's a reason he's wearing gloves. The same thing happened with Teddy Bridgewater.
Well, Ben Roethlisberger wore a glove too.
Big Ben is also a small tight end throwing the football.
Adam, what do you think Pittsburgh's going to do? 9-8 or 8-9 or?
I had him. At first, looking at the schedule, I had him at 12-5, but I'm thinking about 10-6 now, 10-7.
What's the like pulse of the city? What's everyone thinking?
City is kind of like up in the air right now. Half wants Trubisky, half wants Pickett. Josh Yohe tweeted this morning. He said, "You can ruin a whole weekend by putting out the depth chart in the city of Pittsburgh only." It was because Trubisky was first, and then it went Pickett. I don't know. I just think this city's ready to see 7 go into 8 as Pickett.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. Should be another entertaining NFL year.
I'd
It
like to come up to a
definitely should.
game, John. You got to get me a ticket.
I got 2 for every one of them. So
Yeah, I know. You and Jamie go. I know. Well, mainly you and Jamie go, I imagine, right?
yeah, for the most part. But
I'm sure every once in a while you get to take one of your boys.
here and there.
But boys, John, can people get a hold of you on Twitter? I don't even know.
I'm not famous, but yeah, I do have Twitter. I don't even know what I think it's at J Meets MEEETS. I think that's
Obviously,
I
didn't even know you had a Twitter. I only have your face.
I never tweet. I just read,
Right.
at J Meets MEEETS, the number 2.
I'm gonna find you.
I tweet TJ Ward. That's it. Because it's a long story, but he ended up making me Twitter famous for about a day.
That's all you need sometimes.
Because the
Yeah,
second time,
absolutely.
real quick, the second time LeBron left, I guess he's from like Oakland or somewhere around there. So he's a Warriors fan. So he's like, he's like, hey, Cleveland, how do you guys all feel now that LeBron left? And I just tweeted like, we felt the same when you left, except we lost our ability to win a championship every single year. And he's just like, he wrote back, he's like, what are you guys, like 0-16? Like it was right after the 0-16 year. So somebody, those like is US Today Broncos Wire, like picked up that little interaction and put it on there. And like I got a million retweets and like people like send me memes and stuff or whatever. It's pretty funny.
Love it, John. You're Twitter famous for a day or two.
Actually, Pat McAfee talked about it on his show for a minute. So my buddy I played rugby with, and he lives in Chicago now. He called me. He's like, "Dude, do you know they just were talking about you on the Pat McAfee show?" I'm like, "No, I had no idea." It's pretty funny.
You got to get that clip.
Yeah.
Well, John, thank you for coming on, man. It was
Yeah.
fun. Nice seeing you again.
Yeah, definitely. I'll be going up to the lake, a couple more weekends here before we shut it down.
Oh, really? All right. Well, maybe I'll try and sneak up one weekend.
Definitely.
But yeah, let me know. I didn't even get it. I was up there in February and was blowing leaves. That's what I was doing, and I
Pretty
never
much.
made it back up. It was pretty cool. Did you have any? Well, you're by the lake too. Have you ever gone over there when it's frozen? John, did you see how high the beach gets?
No,
No.
I'll try to get out there this year.
Oh my! When I was up there, I was standing like 12 feet above the water,
Oh wow.
and it was awesome. The pier, like I was about 12 feet above the pier. It seemed
Wow.
like you could see like the little bit of it that sits on the water right there,
Mhm.
and then the rest was just all sand.
That's cool.
If I see you later this year, I'll make sure I show you.
Definitely. Well, it was nice meeting you, and nice
Same here,
talking to
buddy.
you, Adam.
Well, Evan, and John, maybe you'll meet up at a game one day.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
I'm in section 312.
I'll be by the dog pound.
Well,
I'll
I'm
look
right-
for you, though.
I'm pretty much right there. I'm right to the left of the dog pound. I'm right at the 5-yard line ish.
I'll look for you, man.
But I always come down. My buddy sits on that first section that's visitor side outside the dog pound. He's been there since like '99. His dad.
I think that's like 121, 124, somewhere in there.
I think it would be one. Actually, excuse me. It would be one. If you're looking at the dog pound from the field, it would be the first section to the right, which I think it's like maybe 105 or 110 or something like that. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I know exactly where you're at.
Yeah.
Where he's at.
There you go, John. You can follow Evan on Twitter now. You can. Find
I'll track you down. I'll find you.
That's actually my ad right there. So
All right, yeah. I'll add. I'll get the Twitter machine out and add it.
Be like, hey, I see you. So, Evan, is it awesome being on the field during a game, or do you have
it's
to face
awesome
the
being in
crowd?
the Brown Stadium for any event that it has. But to answer your question, yes. I
How much
never
of the game
thought,
do you watch?
huh?
How much of the game do you watch?
Depending on how active the dog pound is, I might turn around, but there's a giant screen right in front of me, so I just kind of look up at that screen so I can make sure that no craziness is happening in front of me. But it's pretty good. It's a great experience. The fans, I will say, this is easily the greatest fan base I've been around. So
I've been in the
always
dog pound
enjoyable.
once.
You've been there once.
I've been in the dog pound.
You should come again.
Like I was in
Just-
full Steeler gear, but it was already 41-0.
You should never come again.
I was at that game.
A Christmas Eve game?
Maybe not. It was another 41-0.
That was the game where Harrison took out that dude in the beginning of the game because he jumped on the
Wow.
field.
No, I wasn't at that one.
Might have been
I
like
remember that though.
It might have been like 2005.
Oh no, I was still in school.
Yeah, Harrison took out that dude, and we were like, oh, like idiot jumped on the field around all these football players. What an idiot!
Yeah, I don't understand why they do that. And the funny thing is now they tell us don't even chase you. They're
Yeah,
like
I
the
mean-
players will get it. So
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, boys, I thank you for coming on. Thank all of our other guests. Andrew will, hopefully everything's all right with him. He kind of is my Cleveland guy for the production company. So hopefully we can have a little round table with Evan or with Andrew later. And I thank you guys for coming on again. It's been fun, and everybody can have a good night, I guess.
same to you, my man. Thanks for having me on, and hope to see you guys again.
But John, definitely let me know when you guys are going up. Maybe I can get one weekend out of here and get to see you guys.
Yeah, for sure. And thanks for having.
All right, man. Take it easy, guys.
All right, man.
All right, you guys have a good night.
All
You too.
righty.
Thanks.
All right, guys. That was the Browns coverage. Pretty good stuff tonight. Went for an hour 45, and I thank those guys a lot. They're really good guys. That's all I got. And I am saying good night, and here's the exit.